first way is slope-intercept. Everyone's favorite. Y equals mx plus b. To write an equation like this, you need the slope, which is the m, and you need the y-intercept, or the starting value, your b. You plug those two numbers in, and boom, you got yourself an equation. The second way, which is the more popular way for systems, is standard form. We have this coefficient a, b, and c. A and b are rates, very similar to a slope. A and b represent something that's happening more than once. And we usually see the words each, or per, or every. A small teeny baby word that indicates something is happening over and over and over again. We're getting charged $10 over and over and over again. Okay? And C represents our total amount. Based on the context of the story is how you determine which one you're going to use, which is honestly the hardest part. But there is a very good way to tell. So again, slope-intercept will give us a starting value and a rate. Standard form will give us two rates, and it will give us a total amount. When I look at this problem, okay, a theater sells two types of tickets. Lower at $35 each, upper for $25 each. And on a particular night, the theater sold a total of 350 tickets, generating a total of $10,250 in revenue. What in here makes me know if I'm going to use slope or standard right off the bat? There's one word that tells me. There's a lot of words to pick from. Standard form has two slopes and a total value. What one word in here tells me I need to use standard form, most likely? Do you see the word total? We know we have a total of 350 tickets. And we know that we generated a total of $10,250. I have two totals, which means I'm going to use standard form 2 times to write my equations. Nowhere in here does it tell me a starting value. And when we look closer, you're going to see I have a lot more than one slope given to me. But in this problem, I see that I am given totals, so I know I need to use AX plus by equals c. That's what I'm looking for the first time I read a story that's about a system. I'm looking for, are they giving me starting values? At the start, you had $100, and then you gained $50 each week. That would be slope-intercept, because it gave me a starting point. This gives us no starting point, but it gives us total. So I know standard form is the way to go. That's what I'm looking for. Okay? The problems will not tell you which one to use. It won't be like, use standard form to solve the story problem, right? It's going to, you're going to need to read and understand, which is hard in math. So I know I am going to create two equations with ax plus by equals c. So that's the first frame of mind I'm going to be in, is which one do I use? Now we know I'm using standard form. From here, I usually identify the pieces that are going to be most important to me, which in math are usually what? Probably not the words, the numbers. So I'm going to go look through and see what numbers I need to incorporate. I got $35 each for lower level. I got upper level seats are $25 each. I got my total of 350 tickets, and I have my total $10,250. These are the things I need to use, and I need to make two equations. I need to make an equation that represents the total tickets, and I need to make an equation that represents the total amount we made. Okay? Two totals, which means I need two equations in standard form. One of them is going to equal 350, and one of them is going to equal 10,250. So I'm going to have blank x plus blank y equals one of my totals. For example, 10,250. Okay? I need to figure out what's going to go in for A and B. And yesterday we talked about Sesame Street. They sing a song like, one of these things is not like the other. One of these things isn't the same. And when we look at all of our numbers up there, there's one number that doesn't quite fit in with the rest. Remember which one we said did not fit in with the rest? Yeah, why doesn't 350 fit in with the other three? What do the other three have in front? They have a money sign, a dollar sign. We have $35 each, $25 each, and a total of $10,250. And then we have 350 tickets. It would not make sense for 350 to be a part of this equation. This equation is finding us the total amount of money, which means these blanks, A and B, are going to be the numbers that have to do with money as well. So one of these is going to be $35 each, and one of them is going to be $25 each. Does it matter which one we put where? It doesn't matter. When we pick a spot, it is going to change what X and Y represent. If I put $35 here, then what is X going to represent? What is $35? What is $35 each? Now look up there, read. What is $35 each? In the story, you have to read. What costs $35 each? The lower level. So that means X is going to represent my lower level seats. Now it's okay to put 35 here, but if I put 35 in the second blank, now what variable would represent lower level seats? Y. So it doesn't matter where you put it, but depending on where you put it, changes what the variable represents. Okay, I'm going to put 25 here. So that means X is my lower level seats, Y is my upper level seats. And that's my first equation. Now I still haven't used my 350 tickets, which is my other total. So this is going to equal 350, but I need to figure out what's going to go on the left. And I've used 25, I've used 35, I've used 350, and I've used 10,250. So what possibly could go on that left side? X and Y. X are my lower levels tickets. Y are my upper level tickets. If I add all the lower level tickets that were sold, plus all the upper level tickets that were sold, then altogether I will have sold how many tickets? 350. If I take all my lower level, X, which we don't know what X is, plus all of my upper level tickets, which we know is represented by Y, and again, that's why this is a problem, because we don't know how many tickets were sold. So that's why we use X and Y. You know, maybe it's 250 and 100. Maybe it's 200 and 150. We don't know. That's the problem we're trying to solve. How many were sold? Here are your two equations, and this is why it's called a system. We need two equations in order for us to solve a problem. Do you know why we need two equations to solve this problem? Can I solve one of these equations by itself? Like if I draw my little waterfall down the equal sign, can I solve and figure out what x is?
I think we gotta do one at a time.
Do you know why we need two equations? How many mysteries are there in each of these equations? How many variables are there? Two variables. You can't solve one equation that has two mystery values, two variables. In order to solve an equation that has two variables, you need to have two equations. If we had three variables, guess how many equations we would need? If we had 5 variables, then we would need 5 equations. That's how a system works. So now that we're here, we can easily find our answer, and this is why Desmos is so important to this topic. If I pull up Desmos, and I type these in, I can use a graph to determine where they intersect. 35x plus 25y equals 10,250. X plus y equals 350. Again, I know we love to say like, oh, Mr. Tokar, I don't have anything. We'll always try to zoom out. There it is. Here's the system of equations. Right, the red line represents this equation. This is the amount of money we made. The blue represents the number of tickets we sell. And we're trying to solve this system, which is where our two lines intersect. That point tells us our two missing variables, our x and our y. And this is why it's important to remember, what does x represent, what does y represent. What did x represent over here? Which type of tickets? The lower level. So if I look at my answer, how many lower level tickets were sold? How many? 150. The y value was my upper level ticket. So if I look at the y value of the point, 200 upper level tickets were sold. So 150 lower. $150 lower and 200 upper. That's my answer. Okay? This is why we're spending weeks doing this. It is not easy. And you are not going to be a professional at it after one day. But you will also never be a professional at it until you do lots of them. So we will be doing lots of them. Some together, some by ourselves, some with partners, some at the boards, some on the floor, some on the ceiling. Okay? Yeah. We go again. If it only took one to become really good at something, I wouldn't be a teacher. Okay, number 2. Example 6. Okay, get in the habit. Right now, you should already be reading the problem. Read it to yourself. Reading is king. You can't really do math if you can't read. Don't tell your English teachers that. Math's better. Jamal and Asia are both saving money to start a small business in their community. Jamal has $150 saved up and plans to save an additional $25 each week. Asia starts with $100 and saves $40 each week. After how many weeks will Jamal and Asia have saved the same amount of money? Before we do anything, we have to figure out is it y equals mx plus b, or ax plus by equals c? And a good rule of thumb is, does this problem have any totals? Nowhere in this problem does it say Jamal saved up a total of $2,000. Nowhere in this problem does it say Asia saved up a total of 100 grand. There are no totals given to us. However, we are given what? How much did Jamal have at the beginning? How much? Look, read. Jamal has 150. That's how much he started with. Asia, how much did she start with? 100. They are giving us starting values at the beginning. So that means we're going to use y equals mx plus b. Not standard form. These are my favorite because it's easy to figure out what we're writing equations for. One of the equations will be for who? Jamal. We'll have a Jamal equation and we'll have an Asia equation. One for each. Easy peasy. So let's start with Jamal. Jamal has 150 saved up. Start. He's going to save $25, keyword, each week. So what would the equation for Jamal be? Y equals m. Which one is the rate, the slope? What is happening over and over and over again? 25. X. 150 is the initial value, the start, the beginning. That's B. Plus 150, the start. This equation helps you determine how much Jamal will have after a certain amount of time. Okay, so this is the tricky part. In this equation, what is X representing? $25 each, what? Week. X represents weeks. And what does this equation find? It finds Y, but what does Y represent? The total amount of money you have, Jamal will have after some number of weeks. This is our money. How much we got. Okay, so make the Asia equation. What is the equation for Asia going to look like? It is hard to answer questions in math if you don't know what the numbers mean. What? Where? MX, yeah. The equation for Asia. Y equals 40x plus a hundo, yeah. Yep, example 6. Yep, right. Plus 100. We have two equations with two mystery variables, which means we can solve this using a system of equations. So what are we going to use? Desmos. Clear out the old nonsense. We're done with that one. Let's type it in. Y equals 25x plus 100. Y equals 40x plus 100. This is supposed to be 150. My apologies. Okay, I can't really see much here. I'm going to do some zooming out. And now we have to learn a lesson. Can you tell what's going on here? Not at all. Okay? So we got to go over to our good old buddy pal, the wrench, right here. See the wrench? We don't need this to go all the way to 200. We only need our x value to maybe go to 50, right? We want to make this, like, imagine we want to, like, stretch it out. We want to make this smaller. So if you go to your wrench and go down to the x-axis, instead of going all the way up to 277, you delete that out. Maybe we try making it go to 50. Okay? Now it's still pretty squished. It's not terrible. So maybe I'll even make it smaller. Let's try going to 5. Okay? And now I get a lot better idea of what line is where, and I can tell where those dots are, or where those lines are actually crossing. Okay? Do you have to do that? No, but it's a little easier to see now. So, after how many weeks will Jamal and Asia have the same amount? Which one of these is our number of weeks? Are they beautiful numbers? Not at all. That's math for you. X represent weeks. So the X value here means after 3.3 weeks, Asia and Jamal will have the same amount of money. And how much will they have after 3.3 weeks? They will have $233.3. Okay? So our answer is going to be 3.3. This is how you say about in math. About 3.3 weeks. That's when they'll have the same amount of money. Okay, we got some follow-up questions. After 4 weeks, who has more money saved? Jamal or Asia? Do you know how to tell using our graph? If I take a look at my graph, if I find 4, okay? Now we can't really see the 4, but we want to know at 4. So if I type in x equals 4, this is where x equals 4 is. We have 2 points. They're kind of right on top of each other. Here, we'll zoom in. Yeah? Yes. After 4 weeks, okay, red is Jamal. Do you see how after 4 weeks Jamal is under Asia? You see that? The red line is under the blue line. So after 4 weeks, who has more money saved? Asia has 260, whereas Jamal has 250. Now, if we didn't want to use the graph, where else could we have plugged 4 into? We could have plugged 4 weeks into Jamal's equation. We could have plugged 4 weeks into Asia's equation, and we would have got 250 and 260. Okay? Many ways to solve a problem. Here we did it on a graph. You could also do it algebraically by plugging in for x. But after 4 weeks, who has more? It's going to be Asia. She has $10 more. Asia has $10 more than Jamal. And then we got, at the 6-week mark, how how much more money does Jamal have than Asia at the 6-week mark? Okay, so we can do the same thing. Instead of 4, now we're asking 6. Well, this is not a very good question, is it? Who has more money after 6 weeks? Asia. Is this a very good question I wrote?
No.
If I wanted to fix this question and make it a better question, what should I have wrote? Because the answer is Jamal doesn't have more saved than Asia, does he? So how could I rewrite this question to be a better question? How much more money does Asia have than Jamal? That's why you're the guinea pigs. So, how much more? Asia has 340. Jamal has 300. If I did write the question correctly, you would say Asia has $40 more. Okay. So looking at a problem like this, if you're saving money for a long time, does it make more sense to make sure you start with more money or to make sure you save more money each week? What's going to be better in the long run? Saving more money each week. You see, it's not about how much you have at hand at the given moment. It's about how much you can save each month that actually matters. Alright. Ooh, my favorite type of questions. The OST loves these ones. Loves them. This will be on the state test, this problem. Always the coins. Alex has a total of 50 coins. Pause right there. Read the first sentence. Alex has a total of 50 coins. We don't even have to read the whole sentence. 5 words. Alex has a total of 7 words. 50 coins. Already, do you know which equation you're going to use? Alex has a total of 50 coins. Already, what are we using? AX plus BY equals C. I didn't even have to read the rest, did I? Because what word did I read right at the start? Total. I already know I'm going to be making 2 equations with AX plus BY equals C because this C at the end is a total amount. This has nothing to do with a starting amount, but it does talk about totals. I see I have a total of 50 coins, and I see that I have a total value of $9.50. I only have 2 numbers, and I have to build 2 entire equations. One of my equations is going to be equal to 50. One of my equations is going to be $9.50. This is all I know right now. I need to build all the left-hand side, and guess what? I've already used my 2 numbers. Already used them. Yep. We also know they're quarters and dimes, which the problem doesn't specifically tell us, but what do you know? Quarters are worth how much? 0.25. And dimes are worth 0.1. Why wouldn't we just do 25 cents and 10 cents? Do you know why that would mess the problem up? Because what unit is this 950 in? This is in dollars, which means we need to make sure these are in dollars. Okay? I can't have an equation made up of some things talking about cents and then something talking about dollars. Does that make sense? Okay. So, let's start with the hard one, 50. 50 represents the total coins. What's this equation going to look like? The total coins. Take all my quarters plus all of my dimes. All together, I have 50 coins. What's the left side of the equation going to look like? Just x plus y, right? We would do 25 cents and 10 cents because are those going to add up to a number of coins? Right? That wouldn't make any sense, right? Like, if I asked you, hey, what's 25 cents plus 10 cents? Darren, what's 25 cents plus 10 cents? 35 cents. See how your answer was an amount of money? Would it make sense to be like, hey, what's 25 cents plus 25 cents? Would it make sense for me to respond with, it's 2 coins? Does that make any sense? That would make sense for me to say. This is asking us about the total amount of coins. If you just take all the quarters and all the dimes, you have 50 coins. Now, our second equation does add up to an amount of money, so this is the one where we have to do 0.25 times x plus 0.10 times y equals $9.50. Could I have flip-flopped the 25 cents and 10 cents? Yes, I could. But because I wrote it this way, I basically decided what x represents and what y represents. What does x represent in this problem? What's it next to? What's 25 cents? Quarter. So that means x represents my quarters. And y represents my dimes. Which is why this is quarters, all of my quarters, plus all of my dimes, is a total of 50 coins. I know I have 50 coins. It could be 50 quarters and 0 dimes. It could be 25 quarters and 25 dimes. It could be 10 quarters and 40 dimes. I don't know. That's what we're trying to figure out. How many quarters do we have? How many dimes do we have? And all we know is we have 50 coins, and we know if we were to count up all 50 coins, it would be $9.50 worth of coins. We have 2 equations, so now it's time to answer the question. And to do that, good old Desmos. Pop that sucker open. Clear out your old nonsense. We don't care about Jamal and Asia anymore. Type them in. A good way to totally reset it is you click the gear and click delete all. Resets it all back to normal. You type that bad boy in. Type your equations in. Find where your lines cross. How about this? I'm not going to do it. So if you don't do it, you won't have it in your notes. And then you won't get credit for the problem. Don't affect my grade. Mine's already on a transcript. It'll never change.
I only see one line. Right?
Yeah.
You gotta put 0.25x. It's just token.
What?
We have to put 0.25x.
Yeah, 0.25x. Because it needs to be in dollars, not cents. Do you? Is it a good question or a bad question? Alright. What's your question? There's your first line. Now you have to type in the second equation right under it. You type in this one, you also need this one. Because you're going to see where your 2 lines cross. Crisscross applesauce. There should be a gray point where your two cross. That's what you're looking for. Yeah, you definitely want both because one of those numbers is your quarters and one of those numbers is your dimes. You need to figure out which is which too. And it all depends on where's x, where's y. That tells you what the variable stands for. Very good. Which one's quarters, which one's dimes? 20 is dimes. Y is dimes, x is quarters. This is what it looks like. I know I lied. I put it in. Here's my first equation, my second equation. Again, if I put them in the other way, it doesn't change anything. The point where my two lines meet is this gray point right here. If you're not seeing the gray point, it's because you're not clicked on. You just have to click on the line and it'll show up. I have the point 30, 20. Now, this means more than just 30, 20. Because we put 0.25 next to x, that means my x value is my quarters, so I have 30 quarters. Since 0.10 is next to the y, that means I chose dimes to be y. So that means 20 is the number of dimes I have. I have 30 quarters and 20 dimes. And just to show you, if I were to flip-flop these, if I did 0.10, if I flip-flopped which place I put these in, I'd get the same thing. It's just now x represents quarters, or dimes, and y represents quarters. It just flip-flops. So. Clean up your space. Don't take my chargers. If you want, you can continue. You can. I posted next week's Delta Math early, but you'll know how to do it if you want to start on that this weekend. All I ask is you come Monday, not pretending like I didn't teach you anything. Please.
I got a nice time.
4 or 6?
Yeah. Oh, good luck. Teach him how to